This is the Impressions Xchange podcast.
Impressions Xchange podcast,
where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new year and a new episode of the Impressions Xchange podcast. Since it's January, we thought it would be a good idea to take a look at some trends and predictions for the year ahead. To do that, we spoke with none other than Andy Paparozzi, Chief Economist of Printing United Alliance. During the episode, we discussed what print service providers should anticipate this year. Spoiler alert, some topics that came out in 2023 are still lingering, but there are some new things to think about. We also delve into some opportunities and challenges for PSPs, with AI taking the top spot as a transformational opportunity this year. And finally, we let listeners know where they can get more information like this and access to Andy's expertise. All right, Andy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome, Ashley. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So it's the beginning of the year. So how's 2024 treating you so far?
Oh, things are going very well. We're getting very good response to our state of the industry research, and we've got some very exciting new research planned for the year. So, we'll see where that takes us.
Wonderful. And I know we're going to get into a little bit of that later in this episode. So, you joined me in 2023 on an episode of the podcast, and we talked about, what print service providers should expect in the year, and some of the opportunities and challenges that you were predicting for the year. So I'd love to kind of revisit those topics again, since obviously, we know things change, so can change dramatically over the course of a year. So, so I wanted to ask you, what are some of the things that could affect the printing industry that print service providers should anticipate this year? And, just as a reminder, from last year, some of the things that you had mentioned were, cost inflation and supply chain disruptions and labor shortages. And you also had mentioned, don't fight the Fed. So are those some things that we're going to continue to see problems with in 2024? Or are there new things that we should be thinking about this year?
Yeah, it's a combination of both, Ashley. You're absolutely right. Last year, first of all, business slowed significantly, and I can give you some numbers for our State of the Industry panel. Last year's sales increased 2.7% on average. In 2022, sales increased 12.8% on average. So there was a significant, meaningful slowdown across our industry. And now operating cost inflation did moderate as supply chains continued to heal, but price resistance increased. Clients became more resistant to cost pass-through. So even though operating cost inflation moderated to 5.3% from 11.1%, price increases were limited to 3.8%, down from 11.4% in 2022. So even though cost inflation moderated, this stiffened resistance to price increases limited the increase in prices to less than operating cost inflation. And when operating cost inflation is rising faster than prices, one of two things happens. You either offset the difference by increasing productivity, which certainly many companies did, or else it comes right out of your bottom line. And that's what happened in 2023. And again, let me just give you one set of statistics from our State of the Industry research. Last year, just 35.5% of our panel reported pre-tax profitability increased, down sharply from 51.4% in 2022. Conversely, nearly 40% reported profitability decreased, up sharply from just 25% in 2022. Again, as you had this overall slowing of activity, softening of demand, and you had a classic profit squeeze created by operating cost inflation. Yeah, moderating, but still running ahead of price increases. And that's kind of what we can expect in 2024. Simply put, let's not count on the economy. The economy is still not behaving normally or according to standard. Believe it or not, it's still being affected by the extraordinary distortions and disruptions of COVID-19. And what concerns me is that we still haven't seen the full effects of the campaign of interest rate hikes the Fed initiated in March of 2022, in part because of the trillions and trillions of dollars. The last count I saw was 4.6 trillion that the government poured into the economy as part of the COVID stimulus program. Well, that stimulus is now finally fading. And those interest rate hikes are beginning to work through the economy, and credit conditions are tightening. So even if the economy continues to skirt recession this year, I don't think it's going to be of very much help to our industry. And many, I might say the consensus of participants in our state of the industry research is exactly that. Only 33% expect business conditions to be better this year than they were last year. Only half expect to increase sales. And expected sales increases are a moderate 4.3% on average. So basically, our panel expects business conditions, circumstances to be very similar this year to what they were last year, excuse me. And I'll cite only one other statistic that I found particularly telling. We ask our panel about their capital investment plans, and specifically if they plan to make a capital investment over the 12 months ahead. 69% of our panel now expect to make a capital investment over the next 12 months, up sharply from just 60% in February. Well, why the sharp increase? Well, I think there were two reasons. Number one, because fears of a deep recession that were forecast late in 2022 and early 2023 have faded. Now, again, our panel does not expect the economy to turn upward sharply or to be much more help this year than it was last year, but at least they're kind of assuming that the worst isn't going to happen. And the other reason for the sharp increase in CapEx is, quite frankly, fear of falling behind competitors who continue to invest. A mindset we saw throughout our panel, this idea that it's better to play offense than defense. And that's, I think, one of the defining factors of 2024. The business climate is going to be very challenging for the same reasons it was last year, but waiting for the economy to turn up or interest rates to turn down is not the answer.
Well, that is just an incredible way to kind of set the stage for the next questions. And I'm really interested, it makes sense that if there isn't this kind of looming fear of recession, that there would be more investments in CapEx. And I like that you said that it seems like, people are not assuming now that the worst will happen, and they're trying to play on the offensive rather than defensive, not wanting to lag behind. And I think that might, potentially play into our next question, which I want to ask you about the opportunities. So, what are some of the opportunities that print service providers can take advantage of this year? And, again, just as a reminder, last year we talked about events, tourism and travel. And then you had also mentioned for those companies that were profitable, there were trends in creating sticky work and added value growth, as well as efficiencies. So, now that we, as you mentioned in the last question, that a lot of there are companies that don't want to lag behind and they kind of want to be at the forefront of innovation and the forefront of investments. Does that play into the opportunities that print service providers could take advantage of this year?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we asked our panel, our State of the Industry panel, is very, very simply, Where are your opportunities this year? Where do you see opportunities? What are your challenges? And what are you going to do about those challenges? How are you going to address them? And again, overall, I would describe our panel's expectations for 2024 as restrained, as sober, as realistic, for the reasons I mentioned in the previous response. Now, they see opportunity in all the industries you just mentioned: revenge travel, live events, tourism, hospitality. They also see opportunity in election year printing. This is an election year. And they also see opportunity in the shakeout of weak competitors. Many have told us that, again, with the stimulus money going away, with the COVID money going away, with interest rates going up and staying up, a lot of their competitors aren't going to make it. And they're absolutely right. So they see an opportunity, to your point, by creating sticky work, by creating value for their clients, to capture work that is going to become available as we have a shakeout, consolidation of weak competitors. They see opportunity in a number of printed product markets, in apparel decoration. Very optimistic about the potential for t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts. In wide format printing, very optimistic about the potential growth rate of wall architectural building graphics, banners, soft signage and flags, window graphics, retail and point of purchase graphics. And in commercial printing, very enthusiastic about the opportunities for highly targeted, personalized direct mail campaigns, direct mail as part of a broader personalized marketing campaign, not the old generic direct mail where you send out hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of pieces and hope something sticks, but using personalization, data analysis to create the kind of direct mail and marketing campaigns in general that really provide ROI for the client. Again, sticky work. But I'll tell you, Ashley, kind of those are their external opportunities. Their biggest opportunities that the panel spoke about are really in three areas. And number one is artificial intelligence. And I will quote one of our panel members here. Our panel member, when we spoke to him about biggest opportunities, not just in 2024, but long, far beyond, his exact words were, our opportunity is to be an AI curious organization, to learn everything we can about AI. And during the discussion, we talked about how, yes, AI is automating workflow. We all know that. And that's very important, but that's not what makes AI revolutionary. What makes AI revolutionary, and something every one of us, regardless of what we do, how we do it, or for whom we do it, must begin to learn about AI, be AI curious, is AI's unprecedented ability to automate what we could never automate before, to enhance outcomes, support the superior decision-making company-wide. For example, and we have in our panel companies doing this. Now, only about 23% are now have now incorporated AI into their organizations. But those 23% are doing some very significant things. For example, they're using AI to analyze and forecast the size and potential growth rate of target markets. They're using it to analyze diverse and massive customer databases, every kind of interaction they have with their clients. And they're using it to identify quality issues, potential customer needs, all leading to product innovation. They're using it to generate code to create full operational web applications from text prompts. They're using it in HR to screen HR applicants. and they're using it to respond, not in boilerplate, but custom responses to client questions, comments, and suggestions, and how they can develop a more effective marketing campaign for their clients. They're using AI in extraordinary ways, and that's what we need to be doing. And I think the companies that are building the greatest competitive advantage, again, not just for this year, but many, many years into the future, are already moving down the AI path. That was one thing they talked about in terms of what we might call transformational opportunity, as opposed to how well the market is doing this year compared to how it did last year. This is transformational. These are the opportunities that are going to redefine our industry and determine who makes it and who doesn't. Embracing artificial intelligence, being AI curious, again, to quote one of our panel members, is number one. The other transformational opportunity they talked about was being what I call data literate. And that's essential because the data age driven by AI is here. And again, I'll quote one of our panel members quite simply. He says, at every stage of the business cycle, it is all about the data. And the third thing that our panel talked about in terms of, again, what I would call a transformational opportunity is simply cultivating big picture thinking company-wide. And I'm going to read you some direct quotes from them. And I want to reinforce, these are not my words or Printing United Alliance's words. These are the words of our listeners' peers. Now, these are quotes. Employees at every level must think beyond what they have to do to what they can do to position the company and themselves for greater success. Much more focus on broad-based thinking. We need people to think strategically. We require innovative minds and think outside the box type people. We are teaching employees how to be better problem solvers and effective leaders, and we are cultivating a mindset of continuous improvement and innovation in all departments, and we are learning how to align everyone with the company vision. And again, I'm quoting, a focus on e-commerce and driving convenience for clients requires a new approach from top down. The mindset from top down has to center around being a technology and e-commerce company that produces print. And again, beyond which markets our panel expects to grow fast this year, beyond what they expect from the economy, those three things, embracing artificial intelligence, being data literate, cultivating big picture thinking company-wide, those are the things they see as the foundation of long-term competitive advantage and sustained long-term profitable growth.
Wow, that is just incredibly helpful. And it really aligns with, your research really aligns with what, we've been seeing on, just the editorial side and kind of anecdotally and talking with people and, our listeners who, read our content. We've been touching on AI and the importance of embracing that change. And I love the term that you used from one of the panelists, it being AI curious, and that it's all about the data. I think those are really important as takeaways. I mean, it's inevitable, and I think we kind of talked about this before we started recording this podcast, that it's one of those things that you either get on the bus or get left behind with it. And so, yeah, I think those are three really great takeaways that you just brought us as opportunities. So on the flip side, I'd love to talk about the challenges. So, based on your research and what you've seen, what are some of the challenges that print service providers might face this year, and how can they prepare?
Well, we asked them exactly that, Ashley. We asked two questions. what are your biggest challenges or what concerns you most about 2024? And then, well, you told us what your biggest concerns are. Now, what are you going to do about them? So the biggest concerns, and again, this is entirely consistent with everything we've talked about so far. By far, the two most widely cited concerns for 2024 are maintaining profitability, cited by 66.5% of our panel, and increasing sales, cited by 66.3%. And again, that reflects exactly what happened in 2023, and it reflects a sober, realistic outlook for 2024. They're still concerned about rising labor costs. That's a major concern for 55%. Now, remember, it's not just how much costs are going up, it's how much of the increase we can offset with productivity gains and how much we can pass along to clients as higher prices. And realistically, again, as we talked about in 2023 and again in 2024, resistance to price increases to cost pass-through is going to be very stiff again this year. So 55% are concerned about rising labor costs. And among the commercial printers in particular, now this number surprised me, maybe it shouldn't, 47, almost half, 47.5% of the commercial printers in the panel are very concerned about losing work to print alternatives. And again, the answer there is reinforcing the ROI of print and reinforcing print as complementary to other electronic communication, to other communication methods. And some of the folks in our panel are doing that. They're making the case for print, showing its effectiveness and showing how, again, communication is complementary, not mutually exclusive. And then there's just one other number I want to quote that I'm going to be watching this one in particular very closely. Right now, 36.7%, a little over a third of our panel are very concerned about credit market conditions, tight credit, elevated interest rates. And the reason I'm going to be watching that very closely is I will not be surprised if that percentage increases as we discussed earlier, those interest rate hikes the Fed conducted from March of 2022 through July of 2023 slowly worked their way through the economy. Now that's what concerns our panel the most. How do they plan to address it? I was very encouraged that nearly 3/4 plan to strengthen margins through actions on both the cost side and the revenue side of the profit equation. Specifically, overall, they said we have to manage costs more effectively, and overall, we have to just do a better job of managing, of keeping our eye on things. Those were the two most frequently cited actions on the cost side. And on the revenue side, the most frequently cited action was marketing more effectively. And by marketing more effectively, they're talking specifically about helping clients understand their full capabilities and how the client will benefit from those capabilities. Because as you and I have discussed many times, companies are diversifying very aggressively. But what's happening is they're not quite getting across to clients that they can now offer all these services. And again, how these additional services combined with their core printing services are going to yield an ROI for clients. So when our panel talks about the single most significant thing they can do or want to do on the revenue side, increase our marketing or market more effectively, they're really talking, again, not about generic marketing, reinforcing their full range and explaining to clients, educating clients on their full range of capabilities, and most important, how they will combine those capabilities to the client's benefit. Again, communication being mutually reinforcing, not mutually exclusive. And just one other thing, and this fits in with the whole issue of costs rising faster than prices. Got to offset the gap by increasing productivity. 54.3% of our panel plan to strengthen margins through capital investment that supports automation, increases production speed, and supports increased efficiency and profitability. 48% plan to strengthen margins through investment in their workforce development, training, cross-training, recruiting, retention, and nearly 35% plan to strengthen their margins in 2024 through both investment in capital and investment in their personnel. And I found that very encouraging because now I'm starting to see as many members of our panel talk about investing in their workforces as talk about investing in capital equipment, hardware, and software. And I think that's a significant change in mindset in our industry, and a very encouraging one.
Right, right. Yeah, that's fascinating. And maybe I'll have to get Adrian Harrison in for an episode to talk about, workforce and workforce development. I think that
for sure
could be very interesting. So, and I just before we move on to the last question, I do want to just echo I'm also surprised. You said with the commercial printers, 47.5% being concerned about losing work to print alternatives. And I think, the point that education to customers of products and services is really important. It's definitely something that we, editorially, we try to touch on and talk to those print service providers who are doing a good job of educating their customers as to how print can complement digital channels. But I think, there's definitely room for growth there because there are some PSPs who maybe aren't doing that right now. So, thank you for that information.
No, it surprised me as well. I again, it's exactly what you said, and I can tell you, some of the folks who are doing that are using AI to do it. They're using AI to analyze marketing campaigns and to show clients very specifically with hard numbers how they benefit from, again, a broad set of communication services, which with print at the core. It all fits together, but that's a high number. When you find nearly half kind of aren't there yet, that's something we need to address, and good for you for addressing it from the editorial side.
Yeah. And I'm really interested. We'll have to have you on the podcast again next year so we can talk about how if you've seen changes there, and if you've seen changes, going back to AI and kind of the how people are embracing that within the organizations. I think that's something we should revisit next year and kind of see how that's evolved. I'd be very curious to talk about that.
That's going to be on every single one of our quarterly state of the industry surveys. We have to monitor how people are approaching AI, how they are using it, where they're benefiting from it, and the pitfalls.
Mm-hmm.
There are many, many things you have to be concerned about, and you have to know to make it work effectively. But that's exactly even more important than tracking the economic and KPIs, sales, profitability, confidence, all of that stuff. I guarantee you, every survey we have is going to be very closely tracking artificial intelligence, its uses, and where folks are with it, and doing everything we can to make sure that, again, they at least start to think about it. It is too important to back burner or ignore. As you said earlier, if you do that, you're going to be left behind, hopelessly left behind.
Right. And this is a perfect segue because you mentioned that you're going to be exploring that on the State of the Industry reports moving forward. So can you tell us where listeners can get more information along, the lines of what we've been talking about today?
Right. Everything you and I talked about, Ashley, is in our State of the Industry series reports. That's our full comprehensive State of the Industry report, accompanied by 3 quarterly updates. and our new Print Business Outlook series, which produces reports specifically for commercial printing, wide format printing, and in-plant printing. All reports, full reports, are available at our website, printing.org. All are provided without charge to Printing United Alliance members. Every member can download every report at printing.org. The reports are not available to non-members. In addition to the full reports in our State of the Industry series and Print Business Outlook series, we have a number of very insightful white papers prepared by my colleagues Lisa Cross and Corey Francer, part of the Print Business Outlook series. And I'll just name three of them. Direct mail, delivering strong opportunity for commercial printers. Delivering on customers' top desires with optimized wide format production and equipment installations and applications at in-plants. Those white papers are available at Canon's website. And again, that's csa.canon.com. So you'll be able to download those white papers at Canon's website, and every report in our State of the Industry series, every report in our Print Business Outlook series, all the white papers I just mentioned are generously sponsored by Canon USA. So thank you to Canon for making this important research possible.
Perfect. And for all of our listeners, I will include links to all of the pages that Andy mentioned in the description for easy access. And I'll also include a link if you aren't already a member of Printing United Alliance. I will include a link to find out more information and to sign up. So Andy, I want to thank you so much for joining me on today's episode and giving us so much incredible information to have a successful and, really great 2024.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Ashley. Again, thank you for having me. And if folks have questions, I'm easy to find.
Right. And I'll include that information to contact you as well in the description. So thank you very much. And I hope to have you back on the show.
Be my pleasure, Ashley. Be well. Talk to you soon.
As I mentioned, I will include links below for easy access to the items mentioned in today's episode. I want to thank Andy for joining me today. And of course, I want to thank all of you, our listeners. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Impressions Xchange podcast.